Yeah, that's caught me once or twice before.
And I still haven't found a way to just let it start.
Yeah. Right. Stefan, thank you for that. Stefan's getting married at the end of this month, and so when he gets back from honeymoon, there's going to be a whole lot more changes that he can tell us about. Eh? Yeah. Anyway, thank you for that. That was great. All right, cool. So over to Tiaan Russouw. He's going to be doing a BI Flash, as I mentioned. For those who don't know Tiaan, he's been participating in our user group for many years, presented quite a few times, always really, really interesting. So something to look forward to. On a personal note, Tiaan is a strong and professional triathlete, been racing snake. And besides that, he's also a legend at the Mint Group. Yeah, always nice to have you presenting. Tiaan, thank you. Tiaan wasn't able to be here in person as builders at home and whatever. So thank you anyway with all of that going on. Thank you for presenting as well. Over to you.
Yeah, cool, no problem. Thank you very much. Nice introduction. Thank you very much. I'm quickly going to show a bit of a hack that I put together that saves me a lot of time when I'm working with big data sets, and in this case specifically having to work with SharePoint. And before everybody jumps up and down and say SharePoint isn't a database, unfortunately we always don't have control over that, and sometimes you still have to report on that. So I had a project where I was querying a SharePoint document library containing millions of items. And obviously reading that data took a long time. So I'm sure everybody has written a query, and you click on close and apply, and it takes you half an hour to refresh your data just to find out, crap, I named a column wrong. I have to go back and redo it. So my little hack here. So first thing, I'm querying a SharePoint list here, just a dummy one I've created. And if everybody has worked with SharePoint querying large data sets, the connector doesn't work. It just times out, you don't get your data. So API calls is the way to go. And then you typically in an API call, you'll use pagination. So what I decided to do to bypass my long development time is to create a variable for how many pages I can maximum load. So I have my query that is running, doing a bunch of stuff, but in there I do, where's this item, where if the pages are more than my maximum page load, then just show how many pages I'm loading. So I'm busy developing here. Let's imagine I'm changing a few things. I click and close and apply, and it takes half an hour, not what I want to do. So while I'm developing, I'm just going to say, just give me back 5 pages, which makes my data set a lot smaller. I can do whatever changes I need to do. And if I click on close and apply, it will load almost instantly. If I need to make some changes or see more data, I can just very quickly go and say, right, I'm just going to set this to 1,000. So give me my whole data set back, which now might take a bit longer to query, but at least I've done all my dev work and I don't have to reload this 100 times. Cool. So yeah, so this one takes longer. If I want to go back and I want to do some edits, wrong button. I want to do some edits and just make sure that at least my data structure is working. Let's set it back to just 5 pages. And this will now almost load instantly. Obviously, when you publish this, you're going to set this to your maximum limit of pages that you expect. But again, that you can set in your interface once you've published it. So yeah, not rocket science, but definitely something that saved me hours of development time.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Can you just show how you actually reference the parameter in the Power Query? I'm not sure if I missed that section, but I'd like to.
Yeah, sure. So you just create a normal parameter. So you can just add a where is it? I can't find the button. Anyway, you just add a new parameter in, which you can set whichever value it be. So you can set if my case is just a number. When you set up parameters, so if you want to set up page numbers, obviously it needs to be a number and whatever the value of that should be. And you can then reference this inside of your code. And there's my max page load variable that I can use. So inside the code, you can just run through it. So basically, just to maybe go through how the pagination works. So I query my data set and I say how many items are there, and then I split it into pages. And then where this thingy comes in, I just do give me a top, whatever the max page load is. Obviously, if there's less pages than my max page load, then this step won't do anything.
Cool. Any other questions online or in person? All right. Well, Tiaan, thank you for that. We all need life hacks or Power Query hacks, DAX hacks. Oh, yowzers. I didn't that one probably.
Yeah, user group.
DAX hacks. We all need that from time to time, especially when, as you say, you make a silly mistake and now you've got to wait for this whole process to complete. So that's infuriating. So that's a nice way of solving it. Nicely done. That's exactly what a BI Flash is, by the way. It's nothing hectic. It can be simple. It can be complicated. But the point is, it's something that you've struggled with. You've solved it, and you think others can just learn from that idea or that concept. And it can take 5 minutes. No problem. Thank you for that, Tiaan. All right, so that's it. We're into our fourth and final speaker for the evening. Our main speaker, Michael Victor, on my left. For the camera, can you see him? There he is. Michael's, I should say, relatively new to the user group, although he's been pretty active the last year, let's just say. Lots of questions, lots of participation. So we're delighted to have you in our group, and thank you for volunteering. In this case, DevOps with Power BI is a keen topic for many people. Just a bit of a background on Michael. He works at the Motus group as a data scientist. And he's got a master's degree in engineering management. Boom, there it is. Okay, over to you.
I am sharing Okay, thank you for the introduction. It is as scary as you think it is, presenting for the first time. As you've already said, my name is Michael, and I thought I'd do a little background slide of who I am and how I got to where I am at this point in time. I'm a mechanical engineer that did lots of simulation type work for military vehicles or railway. I also did some work for the mining in our country. I then decided to do a career change to data science, but that wasn't meant to be because I was thrown into DevOps of Power BI and data engineering, and I'm still trying to swim my way out of that to get one day back to the data science. So I work at Motus. Just a brief overview. Motus is a big company that has a whole lot of smaller companies, child companies. We work at aftermarket parts. We import parts from mostly China. We do wholesale distribution and retail, and we are, I think, by quite a large margin, the biggest aftermarket part distribution company in our country. Okay, so just a quick disclaimer. The presentation does not have the answers. I don't think anybody has the answers on this topic. So my purpose is to give you some background and set the stage for a possible follow-up or future talk, me or somebody else that's brave enough. Test my ideas with you and gather your inputs, and then hopefully expand your and my knowledge. Okay, so what is DevOps? You think is DevOps?
A lot of grey.
I didn't expect that answer. Anybody else who wants to offer an answer?
I attended a talk earlier this week.
Sorry?
Development environment.
Donovan Brown version. The intersection of people, technology, and processes.
You're going to get there.
No, I attended a talk earlier this week that said DevOps is culture, and culture is DevOps.
That's deep.
Okay, so Kanban boards and Git integration, right? So DevOps is a big, wide, fuzzy, not well understood topic in my mind. I don't know if maybe you guys have figured it out, but I haven't. And it's what you said, and probably I don't see grey hair. It's a bit left field. That's the cause and effect relationship. So then again, is DevOps applicable to BI? Do you use it? I don't even know what it is for certain. Do you think it is applicable? Is it something you use?
It is, even though I don't use it, but I'd say it's applicable.
Okay, so I didn't know the guy's name. I'm not as clued up as you, but according to Microsoft, DevOps is the combination of development and operations. And it is the intersection of people, process, and technology. And it's supposed to help you with planning, development, and delivery. And they're supposed to bring together development and IT and quality and security to split these silos. So if you do this according to Microsoft, then you'll deliver your work faster, you will have more stable systems, you will get them up and running faster, and you will adapt quicker. Those are some bold claims. Pretty much everything you do will be better. So then, according to Microsoft, you practically apply DevOps by doing things like agile software development, continuous integration and delivery, version control, infrastructure as code, configuration management, and continuous monitoring. And if you do all those things, then you will get that set of benefits. So before I move on to the next slide, when you look at that, according to Microsoft, do you believe DevOps is applicable to BI? Those things you do.
There's some degree of difficulty, but the ideal is to get there.
It's not very smooth.
Yeah, so I think with Power BI, which it's talking about Power BI being the main BI tool, at least for most of us. I think what made it tough from the start is that it feels like Power BI was initially more built for business. They wanted to get the business adoption. Okay, now how can we make it easier for developers? And yeah, DevOps or just CI/CD was a massive challenge. You had to come up with all kinds of weird processes and SharePoint integration to get that to work. And it's getting to this ideal world now.
So I got that same feeling you did. Again, in theory, it makes sense. You want to do these things, but it's difficult, and the infrastructure is not really set up to get it done. And then the work becomes so much that you sometimes give up and ask yourself why. Which brings me to the next slide. So when I propose DevOps to people, and this is the type of comments I get. Sort of, this is what you, so like it's just admin overhead, so why? Or it's not going to make a difference, why don't we just spend the time to do the work? Or yes, that sounds wonderful, and then nothing ever happens, and it's a more nothing. So I guess I would like to take a step back and try and approach it from a practical point of view. So let's say you have two problems, and I want you to keep or one or two problems, or both. And I want you to keep these problems in mind as we go through the next few slides. So the one is you have a number of reports to do for a single department. They have their own unique set of data, and they are the custodians. They maintain it and they look at the reports. So you have this contained little unit, problem one. And problem two, you need to create reports and data infrastructure to basically feed the reporting requirements of a multinational retail company, and this includes like collecting data from multiple source systems in different formats. These are big sources, and you need to add user data like forecasting or targets, and you need to have some self-service functionality. Does this pretty much cover the spread of problems you face? Yeah. Okay. So would you follow the DevOps process according to Microsoft for these problems? I didn't, and I couldn't convince myself that it would help. Not what they proposed. Because I also honestly felt that it would just add over it. But okay, but I think we needed to delve a bit deeper to get to the essence of the problem, of why maybe I felt like that. Okay, so let's take another step back. So if you dig into Microsoft's documentation, find they actually give a purpose of DevOps. So if we then approach it from that point of view, where the purpose is to better respond to customer needs, increase confidence in your applications. If you rework that, you get to produce better, more reliable products that more closely satisfy customer needs. So if we drive it from that point of view, that definitely is something I want. And I think that if we do that, if we approach the development process cleverly, that's something we can achieve by using these tools. Okay, so I'm not sure if any of you've heard of this, but luckily there is a body of knowledge that we can use to analyze these types of complex systems. And it's called systems thinking, and it's a way of making sense of complexity by looking at the whole system and input-output relationships instead of the traditional way of breaking things down into simple parts. And this is a really good tool to analyze these complex your development process. So in systems thinking, a system is a collection of elements. And these elements,
these elephant like that. You've got an elephant in half. Does you get two small elephants?
This collection, now I'm stuck on elephants. This collection of elements, the result of this collection of elements and how they are connected together produces a result that's more than just the collection of these elements separately. So we'll talk about examples in a bit, but just a pile of car parts not going to get you anywhere, but a pile of car parts arranged in a specific order is a vehicle that moves. This system includes everything that is required to make it work. So this is people, documentation, results. And what is really, really important is the results is system level results. It's not, this is the data storage of my data warehouse, and that's what I store in my Power BI. We don't care about that level of detail. We just care about how good are we transforming our inputs to outputs. Okay, I already covered that last bit. Okay, so systems are cell phones, software and hardware. There are some chips, screen. A vehicle is a really famous example of a system, and then obviously our data architecture is also a system. And then you get something called system of systems. So this is a system made up of smaller systems. And by definition, each of the individual systems are independent and they can function on their own. They have their own set of input and outputs, but they all come together into a system of systems to ultimately provide a better, greater goal. Again, we look at system level quantities, and then I think what is important is that the life cycle of individual systems within the system of systems can change. So you can have, for example, a semantic model in there, but it might change to fabric element or entity at a later stage, as long as the input to output relationships, the function is still there. Okay, so systems of systems are things like transportation systems. You want to move people around, and you have lots of means to do it, and they are all interconnected. Big companies are systems of systems. You have different departments, they interact with each other to ultimately make that company profitable. And the internet. Okay, and then this for me was quite a mind-opening moment, but the process in which you go about creating systems in itself is also a system. All these same rules apply. And there is a whole field dedicated to managing the creation system, which is called systems engineering. And this is managing that middle section where you take your user needs and you output the system. So in our case, that would be some business requirement, and it might be a set of reports. It might be problem A or problem 2. I should have put them there. Okay, and examples of systems are cowboy coding, lots of that, waterfall models, agile, spiral, E model, and then DevOps. And if you read the literature, there is a lot of information on practically validated information, papers or studies saying that these types of effort add value, that they really do. But there is this band where if you don't apply enough control. What I find interesting is there's quite a large spread in results on the left-hand side, which I guess makes sense. But if you don't have enough control, you will have cost and time overruns. And if you add too much control, you will also add cost and time overruns. And this is why I think it is so difficult to do this. There is a very narrow band where you need to try and to make this better and effective. Okay, so we listen to NASA, when they look for life, now tying my title into my presentation, but if when they look for life, they look for planets where that's not too hot or not too cold, where liquid water can exist, but that's basically the only life that they know exists critically depends on liquid water. So they use temperature to identify that, and that zone where temperature is acceptable is called the Goldilocks zone. If we transform this to BI, if we do not enough work, management of our system, creation system, then we have too much failures, too much rework, and we have slow progress. If we add too much overhead and too much management, then again, slow progress. So the goal here is to find this habitable zone where the amount of failure and the amount of rework is just right. So in BI, well, not just in BI, but in all systems, we reach the Goldilocks zone by tailoring the creation system. And tailoring is the process of changing the creation system to suit the character of the project. So the creation system must take into account problem 1 or a problem 2. And it must also be tailored to minimize waste effort. And I don't have, unfortunately, the answers for you, but what I can say is that when you go about designing your creation system, you need to actively design it in the same way that you would design your system. You also need to look at the environment. It might be project deadline requirements. It might be project risks, or available people and skills, or whatever DFX. I don't know if any of you have heard that. Maybe it's an engineering thing. It's a design for mindset. So you design your system for reliability. That becomes a sort of the mindset you take when you do this. Or a DevOps is designed for operations, or DevSecOps, I think, is the new buzzword. It's designed for security and operations. Whatever you do, you frame it in that design for framework. Okay, and there are many other options that you can take, and this is very dependent to your specific needs. Okay, so before I jump to the takeaway, is there any questions or comments at this point?
Why did you choose DevOps? That's what you ate.
As a topic or
No, not as a topic. At work. Why that was the choice of the environment to work?
So I'm not a DevOps engineer. I'm I guess I need to deliver business intelligence solutions, and I need to make sure that happens in an effective manner. And I see things going wrong, and then I try and address them, and that has led me to this.
And did you find out that DevOps is the solution? Who chose the DevOps? That's what I'm asking.
Well, I didn't I didn't choose DevOps. I'm just saying what happens is that I addressed that in the takeaway section. But what happens is you want to solve your development problem, and then you Google, how do I do this? And then very often for development, software development, the buzzword that is doing the rounds now is DevOps. So then that's the first thing you try. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it's more complicated than that. DevOps itself isn't the solution to your problems, as you might have felt when you tried to implement it in BI. A part of it might be, but you need to look at your problem and think practically how you address the issues you have. And DevOps might be your solution. If you're Microsoft and you're rolling out Windows and you have this little bits, and you can adapt to your customer requirements, and DevOps is perfect. It works wonderfully. But if you're doing BI and very often take a project and you have a set deadline and you deliver at a specific time, and trying to sort of squish DevOps in there doesn't always work. But maybe you're delivering for a company that's growing their data footprint or data decision-driven approach, and then DevOps maybe works again, because then you do a little bit of a deployment here and you see how it works and if it makes a difference, and then you replan and you try again. And I guess that's my message, is that applying a methodical approach is important. You can't just, well, you can just cowboy code, but if you want to be effective, that probably is not the right approach. And you shouldn't be just blindly following next best kudos. thing that Google spits out. And then whatever you decide your creation system must be, DevOps or Spiral or Waterfall, which is not necessarily bad. That still might require a certain amount of tailoring for your specific project or skill set or people or deadlines. And unfortunately, this is a moving target. So, and it will change for each project. And lastly, to reach the optimal output for your creation system, you will have to be suboptimal in some of your subsystems. For example, your developers would have to maybe now spend some time logging tasks, which would take development time away, but it will empower you to make better decisions regarding maybe balancing their load. That's why it's so important to look at the whole system and try and optimize the input to output relationship and not the individual processes.
Can tell you why I'm asking that. Okay, so I've been in conference of DevOps a few years ago. Okay, and who was there? All the big banks, telecom, all the big institutions that got legacy programming like COBOL and DevOps handled that, basically bring all that information into one, basically like one format that can be used in the DevOps, basically. So you find out big institutions that they cannot just change their system because they invested multi-million there, okay, in multi-million dollars sometimes. Okay, so they're actually using the DevOps to tap this type of environment. Maybe I'm mistaken. I've just been in conference. I didn't work in it. I worked in COBOL many years ago, but not in it. So that's why I'm asking, is that because you guys got legacy software that you need to pull the information from there? That's why you going to DevOps, then BI? Or maybe other reason, I don't know.
So we have legacy systems that we are trying to integrate and move over to a new, bigger system, but that wasn't the specific reason it was chosen. It was just we needed to deliver things better and faster and more reliably, and this is an avenue we investigated.
Just wanted to add, when you mentioned applying a methodical process there, first takeaway. I think what's important is also that is understanding that the process that you apply is empirical in nature. So you need to repeat it and then take learnings away afterwards every time, and don't expect it to be perfect from day one, but repeat it, get the learnings, and continuously improve.
And that's tailoring.
Yeah.
That's tailoring your process.
With a hand online.
Yeah, that's me. When you're saying using DevOps, in what part of DevOps are you referring? I mean, it's a big solution. Are you meaning using task boards? Are you referring to source control, pipelines? What the specific aspects you were looking at, or just DevOps in general?
Okay, you're just going to jump in. Microsoft made that ugly because they took a concept and named a product after it. So it's not the product that you're aiming for.
No.
Microsoft just went
and... No, so I did put that in. I think the first that actually that screenshot was taken from DevOps. That is Microsoft DevOps or Azure DevOps to be. I'm not referring to any specific product of Microsoft or any specific. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the question. I'll give you a chance now to ask again. I'm speaking about the concept of development of systems, of rolling out a BI solution, because essentially that is what DevOps is. It's development of and operations of some system. It might be a program or it might be a BI solution.
Am I correct in saying that DevOps is a implementation or a answer of Agile? Agile is a way of thinking, yes. And DevOps is a way to be Agile.
Agile is a component of DevOps, not DevOps as a component
Yes. So Kanban boards is a way to do things.
But the ultimate goal of DevOps is to decrease the feedback cycle, right? So the big thing with waterfall models, we went away, we developed something for 20 years, and boy, it was wrong. So Agile has that goal of we try to make smaller increments, but it only speaks about the development process. DevOps takes that whole cycle. So how do we develop the smallest unit of increment, get in front of somebody who can provide feedback, and then, enhance from there, right? So it's all the automation and so it's Agile and you don't have to do Agile to have DevOps, right? Because Agile is a very disciplined form of iterative development. So they're not.
Yeah, equal.
One's not necessarily, but I think DevOps is definitely the bigger concept.
So I guess I try to take a more conceptual approach regarding how you go about development, specifying a tool, and that's what I said at the beginning, is that hopefully maybe one day me or somebody else would then delve into some of these end solutions and say how that would work really well. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yeah, thanks.
Okay, sorry, delay then. All right, any other questions? There's another hand, Janine.
Yeah, guys, so sorry, I didn't answer the question initially, but my perspective on what DevOps is or what it means to me, it's like a project management tool for software. Well, it can be for any project really, but I feel like the DevOps tool was specifically built for software projects, because you can put your tasks in and you can connect them to pieces of work, some development code, and that can be connected to CI/CD, which is the continuous integration, continuous delivery, which allows you to push development work into higher environments in like a controlled manner. You have your pull requests and you need approvals, and it needs to go through DevOps pipelines to get deployed to higher environments. So in my mind, DevOps is like a full project management package almost, if I can describe it like that, that assists you or facilitates a software project. In the old days, we used to use flash drives from one machine to the next. We used to have users come and sit on a machine and test things, whereas now with this DevOps toolkit, everybody can connect into it using a web browser, so you don't need specific tools, and do the tasks that they need to do, and it can be tracked using the DevOps board. So, yeah, I don't know if that helps with an explanation. I've used DevOps quite extensively for many years, so I thought I'd just give you my 2 cents.
Nice, Janine. Thank you for that. Obviously, anyone online who needs to go, you're welcome to go. We've over time, but we can continue on asking questions if you need to. I think the pizza might be here, but nonetheless, just before people disappear, I would just like to say a couple of thanks. First of all, thank you to Michael. I know why he's nervous, because that was a beast of a presentation to have to deliver, huh? You can see enormous effort gone into that PowerPoint presentation. Lots of hard work. Thank you. Thank you for helping us understand that better. Also, on the topic of thank you to all the other speakers. And then thank you to Rian and Stefan to help organize the event, and to Intellect for hosting us and providing the food and beverage. And thank you to all of you who joined online and all of you who've joined in person. Thank you.